Hello and welcome to the Podawakens. My name is Jordan, and with me, as always, talking the Acolyte is Ron. How are you today, Ron?
I'm doing good, man. We are a day out from Deadpool here. It's an exciting week, but today we're talking some Star Wars. So let me not shift us too much.
Yes, and we have Jessica returning for her third time on the show. How are you
Hello.
today, Jessica?
Third time's the charm, right?
Yeah. And Ron, did you want to introduce our latest guest?
I would love to. Our new pal here, no pun intended. Really, no pun intended. Oh my god, I hate myself. Anyway,
Nice.
he is the co-host of the Guardians of the Palaxy. We have finally completed the Trinity and got him in here. It is our guy MT. MT, how's it going?
Hey, what? I am so good. What's going on, gang? I'm so excited to talk about the Acolyte and Star Wars in general.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. But before we get there, we got some questions for you because anytime we have a new
For
guest
me?
on the show, we like to just sort of run through some get to know you kind of stuff to get our listeners that probably know
Okay.
who you are anyway, a little more, informed of your kind of where you're coming from as a Star Wars fan. So we'll start off at the
Cool.
top. Just what's your favorite Star Wars movie?
I'm gonna have to say Revenge of the Sith. Like that movie was phenomenal. Wait, first of all, can I swear?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Fuck
I don't know if
yeah,
I can...
yeah.
Okay, that shit was fucking amazing. I like. It's just like has the best fights, the most emotional like movie, and like it. Like I personally like I watched Star Wars from 1 to 6 when I watched it for the first time.
Oh wow.
So like just watching Anakin go from like a little innocent boy to like just Darth Vader was just like so heartbreaking. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe it's Darth Vader. But yeah, probably Revenge of the Sith because it's just really impactful.
Excellent. All right, favorite character?
Ahsoka, that's my girl. I freaking love Ahsoka. Like she's all about balance. She's just, I don't know, she's the best Jedi. I love her.
Nice. It's a good thing we brought you on for our Jessica episode then, because that is also her.
Ahsoka rules.
And give us your favorite show. It could be live action or animated.
I gotta say Clone Wars, because just so much like lore is just in Clone Wars, and I feel like Clone Wars is like necessary watching for any Star Wars fan, because like that is where Star Wars lives. Like Clone Wars and Rebels, it's just like just so much crucial lore. So yeah, probably gonna have to say Clone Wars.
Nice.
Yeah. Clone Wars. We've been doing a little special on here lately called Chronological Clone Wars, where me and my friend Logan have been watching the show in chronological order and talking about the episodes in batches. And his first watch, my second watch through Clone Wars. But yeah, he was a Star Wars fan that never seen it, and he's like, I got to get on it. Everybody keeps talking it up, and he's enjoying it very much.
Hell yeah.
Like that's actually, I should probably try that one time. Like chronological watch of Clone Wars.
Yeah, they have
They
have an order on StarWars.com as well that has the official order, and that's how I kind of broken up. And it's been great because my first watch was out of order, of course, so it was interesting.
Right.
Yeah. The cool thing,
Nice,
thing about Clone Wars 2 is like going back to it like years later, kind of like when you picked up so much more as a fan and like know so much more about like the universe and stuff. It's like an entirely different experience than the first time through. For sure.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever watched it in order, like chronological order, actually.
No, me either.
It's great. It's great. You start off with the most random episode. I think it's Cat and Mouse in season 2. You start off with that episode, and then it goes to like a Christophsis arc that then leads into the movie, and then like that it's kind of
isn't it like through the first maybe like 3 seasons, it's kind of jumps around, and then it kind of
it's really slowed down. Season 5, I think we only had to switch like the first episode of season 5 into being with the rest of the Darth Maul episodes, and then season 6 was straight through. Season 7 though, they did switch. The Ahsoka arc happens before the Bad Batch arc, so those two do flip for some reason. But yeah, but we're not here to talk Clone Wars, so I'll introduce what we're doing here. We've been calling this our post-mortem of the Acolyte coverage, kind of looking back at all 8 episodes and just kind of where we landed on it after the show has been complete. Maybe people have been able to rewatch it. maybe your mind has changed. Maybe you like it better after sitting with it. Maybe you like it less after sitting with it. So that's kind of what we're going through. And in order to do that, I first want to give it to MT here. If you wanted to give me what your original thought was on the Acolyte.
I genuinely love the show. Like I just really love like the duality symbolism of the entire show, and like, you know, and how it shows that the Jedi aren't these like amazing people. Like they're not like these like untouchable, infallible people. They're just human beings like the rest of us. And like it showed us that like there is a little bit of the dark side within the light side. And I feel like that's really important for people to, you know, think about when it comes to Star Wars in general, because like, you know, that's the other side of the balance coin. Like, yeah, we talk about Anakin, you know, the light being inside of the darkness, like in Anakin, but like, what about the darkness and the light, and like the fear inside of like, you know, well-meaning people, and how that fear makes them do dark-sided things. I feel like that's a really important thing for Star Wars fans to think about, and I feel like the Acolyte did a really good job of showing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I guess, yeah, go ahead, Ron.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say totally, and it really it kind of harkens back to like something that I said when we chatted on your show last week, Jessica, about like perspective and how oftentimes the right and the wrong is not so, you know, cut and dry as it would be led to believe. It's really just all about whose shoes you're in a lot of the time in terms of who's right and who's wrong in a situation. And I think this show really did a good job of highlighting that for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Jess, I wanted to ask you then, because last time we had spoke was after episode 4, was it? And then you were on with Ron for episode 6. Yeah. So, or no, I think you were on for episode 3. That's right. Episode 3, then 6. So where did you land on the Acolyte at the end of the 8th episode?
I liked it. I really enjoyed it. It's not probably like my favorite or top Star Wars show that's come out, but I have really enjoyed it. I liked the overall kind of different format of it, even though I know it for me it had some pacing issues, and I know it did for some other people, but I did like that they're trying something different, and I really appreciated that. And I also I've said it before, but my guilty pleasure is definitely like true crime. So that type of I don't know. I'm kind of used to how those kinds of shows are kind of styled and how they go and that sort of thing. And so not having questions answered each time, or having some things answered and then having more questions, didn't really bother me, because that's kind of how mystery or murder mystery type things go. A lot of times you end up having a lot more questions than you have any answers. And so I enjoy a mystery style show. I enjoyed having it in the Star Wars universe. It did, not trying to take it back to Clone Wars, but it did kind of remind me of some of those episodes, you know, where
yes,
like, Obi-Wan's
oh my god, yes,
and that sort of thing, you know.
Yo, I kept saying that. I'm like, this show feels like the animated series brought to live action.
Yes,
like
you know,
that.
I haven't said that yet on like a show, but it did feel like that to me too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. So
spot on.
I loved it. I enjoyed it. I mean, obviously I have my criticisms, and I have things that I wish that were a little bit different. But overall, I did like it, and I hope that they renew it for another season, because I think it'll just get better and deeper, and kind of like the story will be richer if we have a little bit more and more to go off of. And I think it's one of those shows that if there is more, the things that were maybe missing for me, I think will be in the 2nd or 3rd season, or whatever they end up doing with it. And so I think then going back and rewatching the 1st season will just be even better. And, you know, different beats or different things can be filled in from that. So.
Yeah, I think you made a good point there with I think one of my biggest criticisms right now about the show is about the main characters of May and Osha, right? Like, and how early on I was really a big fan of Osha, and I didn't really like May, because obviously I don't think we were supposed to like May. And that's kind of my biggest question too, is were we supposed to like Osha and May, right? Like, that type of thing. Or who were we rooting for in the show? Because I was Soul Patrol. I was rooting for Master Soul and the Jedi. So when it comes now to the end of the show, and like you said, if they have a second season, then we'll have more background on characters like Osha, Kymir, and May. But my question with that would be like, I wish we had gotten that in the first season, right? And part of that is the 8 episodes. Part of that is the structure of those 8 episodes, I think, where we were kind of a little missing on that type of deep character work that I thought we were going to get when we were, getting flashbacks in episode 3 and you're seeing their past. But then that second flashback episode is really mostly from the Jedi perspective, and you don't really get that much more on Osha and May's background. Like, I thought maybe we would see what happened to May after she got out of there. We never really did.
Yep.
Yeah, I wish those 2 episodes were together, honestly. And then we had another episode for developing the
Present
characters
day,
a little bit more. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but the
no, for sure.
So, Jordan, one thing that you did touch on that didn't really bug me too much was the who are we supposed to be rooting for thing. And I think the best comparison that I can make, it's something that's very timely at the moment. Excuse me. House of the Dragon. God, both sides, like, none of the people are good people in that show. They're all just awful from an objective sense. And again, it kind of ties back into what I said earlier. It's really just about kind of whose perspective you're in to figure out who you're rooting for. Like, you can make a case to root for anybody in this show, really, just as easily as you can make a case to root against them. So I think it was more a thing that was intentionally left up to us as viewers to kind of like wait out for ourselves and figure out who we wanted to root for. So that didn't trip me up.
But my only pushback on that would be, if that was the goal, I don't think they succeeded in that goal.
Yeah.
Because like House of the Dragon, I can be like, yes, I am Team Rhaenyra, right? Like, great.
And you'd be right, by the way.
Yes. This show, though, like, I don't think House of the Dragon ever really does what this show did, which is like at the end of the show, when you have May giving up her identity for Osha, it's playing this very triumphant score. Like, this is what you're supposed to want. But I felt like I shouldn't want that, right? Because I think my biggest thing comes down to, I feel like the turn for Osha was really quick at the end, right? Like, I think if we had some more time there, just maybe even 2 more episodes, if we had 10 instead of 8, I think they could have really had made that switch. Because again, like that 6th episode that I wasn't on, that Ron and Jessica covered, it was a lot of we got the Kymir, right? And we got him talking to Osha and all that. But then we go back and do a flashback in 7. And then 8, it has to all wrap it up, right? So it felt like we didn't actually get to see her seduced enough, in my opinion. Now, of course, the truth comes out, right? Of what happened.
Mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only we know the truth.
Yeah, I feel like there's still so many things that were like, that wasn't answered.
And I said Soul should have just been like, dude, I only killed your mom because she was turning into a smoke monster and she was about to kill May, or so I thought. Like, he could have maybe sold it a little bit better for her, but
sold it?
Yeah, sold it. Yeah, exactly. Pun not intended.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I heard somebody say this or I read it somewhere, and I hate that I can't give credit to whoever I first saw this idea from, but someone said something about how if Osha and May are supposed to be the same person, then one, almost like a theory of they both can't be light at the same time. One has to be dark and the other has to be light. And while I like that theory, and I think that makes sense with the storyline and everything they're trying to do, I wish that had been either explained or implied a little bit more with the story, because I think for some viewers, like, I can kind of see that and I can accept it, but I still feel like it wasn't, I don't know, hit on enough in the story, because I think the reveal of them not being twins could have been earlier, and then some of that could have been a little bit more reinforced. And if that was more reinforced from the beginning, then I think some of the switches wouldn't, like you were saying, Jordan, wouldn't seem so abrupt and almost out of character for how they had been developing the character that we had been watching. So
Well, that's a
I
good point.
fully get that.
I'll put it up to everybody here just as a question, because I brought it up last week. Like, there's this reveal, right? Like you said, they are not twins. They're one person, and it's supposed to be this big reveal. And Soul's like trying to tell May and Osha this. But the show itself doesn't tell us what that means. So, like, in my opinion, like, what do you guys think that means? Like, MT, let's start with you. Like, what is the point of that revelation? Like, what does it do for those characters? Or, like, what are we supposed to gain or gather from that information?
I think that this is setting up a bigger reveal down the line for like a potential season 2, and like, and that reveal will have huge bearings for like the prequel trilogy of Star Wars, and probably all of Anakin's whole journey, because like, it's this idea of like, the twins being born, like living like life force that was separated like before they were born, and like the concept of like life force in general, because we see that like is huge with like Palpatine and how he came back, and like in episode 9, like the life force transfer was like the theme of the whole movie, because everyone was just having life force sent everywhere. And like I think that like we're going to see how like maybe like both these Anastasia twins are like Anakin Skywalker, like before some weird reincarnation thing happened. Like I have this weird feeling that in season 2 they'll both die at the same time, Osha and May, and like the light and the darkness will like go into the cosmic force, and then Palpatine will be like, "Oh, time to. Well, I don't want all that to go to waste. I want to use it again for a new baby that I'm going to put in the desert." And that's what he does. And that's a terrible Palpatine impression. I'm sorry, but like I think this is all about the idea of like where people come from before they're born, like this idea of like the force, like the original source, that is the force. And like it's a very strange way of doing it, like separating the like one being into two bodies, but like I don't really know exactly how it's going to manifest, but it's definitely going to manifest in Plagueis's plans for sure, because like he's just very, like I remember like in the last episode when Kymir was listening to Saul confess that she's two people, he's just like, I'm very curious as to what this science is. Like, give him a look, like just like I want to know more. So I don't know, I just feel like whatever their story is, it's going to factor into Anakin's birth in some way. Like I just have a strong feeling. But what do you guys think? I'm sorry I talked for so long.
I just think that would, talk about upsetting the fan bases, right? That
oh my god, it would cause fires across the nation. People would revolt. It would be, oh my god. But I think it'd be really cool. But like, oh man, that'd be quite controversial indeed.
And the sad part is it really shouldn't be, right? Because like it wouldn't be messing.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be messing with the outline that's been put before. It would be adding color to the outline and like kind of explaining it more in a rational way. But nobody will ever be able to see it like that. Well, I mean, we will, and fans who have rational kind of brains will. But it's a shame that there's such a large portion who just like the critical thinking is so one note that you can't like take it one step further. Sort of thing,
we can answer the question of somehow Anakin was born.
Yeah,
we could.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be really interesting if that happened through the Acolyte. But it would also explain, in a really fun way, Anakin's name. Because, like, it'd be
Anastasia.
like, Anna would be like Anastasia, and Ken is like family.
Yeah.
So it's like the Anastasia family in one.
Don't even. Really like, I can hear people screaming just from that idea.
I know,
if they were upset about Ki-Adi-Mundi's birthday, I just can't wait to see what they'll be upset about with that.
It's like, I'm out. I'm done. No, I'm just kidding.
Jessica, any thoughts on how what the reveal of them being one person means?
I mean, I still think what I originally thought, and MT, I like what you said a lot. I have a very different opinion on it, but I like
Go for it.
your
Go for
vibe
it.
of it for
Thank you.
sure. I do think it will probably get into some more of the like mystical aspects of the Force and how that works with
Mm,
like the Vergence and that sort of thing. What I think the difference is I think maybe the power from the Vergence is what helped create
mm,
Osha and May versus I think Anakin is a Vergence, and I think he was created purely by the Force to bring balance. And while Palpatine wants to maybe take credit for that, like he can't. He was able to
right.
manipulate that to his advantage for a while. I think that they're clones of Anastasia. And so I
Mm,
think that they
ooh.
are her light and dark sides kind of split in half, or her conscious split in half.
Oh.
And so that's kind of where I think that it's going with it. And so, like, while I think that, yes, there are definitely mystical sides to things and force stuff going on, I do think this is maybe one of the attempts at cloning. And that's why I think Mother Coral carried them, because I don't know how the genetics would work if you could carry your own clone. Like, I don't think you can really
Right.
do that, you know? Um,
Right.
and so that's kind of my thought. And with it being like the big reveal, I do think that that maybe should have been revealed a little bit earlier, and they didn't ever come out and actually say how they did it. And I think even if they
Mm,
are clones, them saying that to some extent, I don't think would ruin anything for the second season. I kind of wish that that had been the full, maybe not the full details of how it happened, but I wish that
mm,
we had gotten a full answer on that from someone in the first season. Soul would have not, he wouldn't have had a way to know that. Kind of like people complain about Poe saying somehow Palpatine returned. Why would Poe as a,
mm.
I'm not yes,
Yeah.
Poe. Why would Poe, like, he would not have that knowledge. Like, to him it would be somehow. So
Right.
to Soul the same, he would have no idea to think of cloning. He would think it was some force something that happened. But I
Mm,
do wish that was revealed to some extent, because I think our biggest question that I wish that the show would focus on in the second season is more about Plagueis and
mm,
how the Acolyte and the Sith and all of that is, you know, playing a part. And so that's kind of like personally what I wish would have been the focus and kind of the twist and what they would have focused on for the second season. And this, not that it would have been put to bed completely, but like we would have had an answer to an extent, and maybe the full how could also be tied into like more information on Plagueis and the Sith in the
mm.
second season.
True, 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 true. I like that. That's really like, what's it called? What part did I really like that you said? How like they could be like Mother Anastaea's light and dark side. Like I was like, yo, you just freaking exploded my mind because like that would be perfectly in line with the whole
I don't
theme, and
know.
like
Like, just what
that'd
made
be
me
fantastic.
really think that is when Osha was like, I want to be a Jedi. And she seemed to just like accept that as what
Right.
Osha wanted to do so easily. I'm like, are they her clones? And is there a part of her that she suppressed because she is a witch and she grew up in a coven and the Jedi are considered bad, and this is how we use the Force, that was like a hidden desire of hers, you know? And
Right.
so that manifesting itself in one of her clones wasn't surprising to her. So that's kind of the thing that made me think about that a little bit. So
Okay. Interesting.
I'm
And
thinking it's kind of both. Go ahead, Ron.
no, you're good. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's kind of both, from both like part of what MT is saying, part of what Jessica is saying here. I think the most easy thread that they can do with this is it was through the Force.
thread, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. See? That one was a little bit more intended. That you have Mother Anastasia, who is like, hey, I'm going to conjure these out of the Force. I don't want to carry. I'm going to make Mother Coral carry them, right? I don't want to be trying to carry 'em, right?
That seems like a whole lot of work. Not for me.
Yeah, especially it's going to end up
stories.
being twins. So I'm not. Yeah. So I think she does that, and then Chimere, when he hears this, gets real intrigued, like MT was saying. And I think that we now know Plagueis is on the same planet as Chimere. It sounds like, from what Leslie Headland has said since we last recorded, that they are not master and apprentice to each other at this point.
Ooh.
So
They're
we'll see.
roommates.
So maybe Chimere actually trains Plagueis, or Plagueis is just, I don't know. So we'll see, right? And Plagueis, of course, is interested in trying to extend life, and on top of that, he tries to make life. And it's when he's trying to make life that the Force creates Anakin. So I do think it can kind of have the tie-in with Anakin's birth, but he learns that this is possible through hearing Chimere talk to Osha about Mother Anastasia creating her in the Force.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes Plagueis start thinking, this is how I can maybe extend my life. And then it creates this whole domino effect to Anakin Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So, with you saying that he's maybe not Plagueis' apprentice,
Right.
could he be Darth Tenebrous? Because
Technically,
in Legends, couldn't he transfer his consciousness into another body? Doesn't he do that,
That is
from what I've
true.
read?
Oh, I'm not too up on my Tenerbis knowledge, except for the fact that he is mostly known as a Bith species. But you're right. If he can transfer
Right.
his consciousness, then that wouldn't be a problem.
And that would make sense
Like-
for him saying, like, I'm a lot older.
Yeah.
Oh
know.
shit.
So
Yeah,
maybe
like-
maybe he doesn't even look like Manny Jacinto when he was the apprentice to Vernestra then?
Or maybe it's her apprentice and, like, inhabited by...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's what I was
Darth
thinking. If he
Tenebrous.
was trying to like maybe
Yeah.
infiltrate the ranks of the Order and like was attempting to do so through Chimere, and then she found out, and all of the lightsaber whip scars he's got on his back. Yeah, it's a really good theory. I'd never even thought of that.
You know, I think like last week on the Palaxy, I brought up like the possibility that like in the same way that Palpatine was like sort of like in control of Snoke, like maybe Plagueis could like have an influence over Chimere, and like I just feel like that'd be really interesting because like Chimere is significantly less hideous than Plagueis, and like like if someone was like, "Hey, try the drug of the dark side," like I would trust Chimere more so than Plagueis, because Plagueis looks like an evil Squidward. I'm like, I don't want anything from
Rolling
you.
up in the unmarked
You're
right
clearly
hand.
evil.
Now on the dark side.
It's like
Why
the
should he
opposite
do
of like, what is it, like sexy Squidward or whatever?
Yeah.
It's like,
the Squidward.
God, everything. No,
His
that's
evil
House
twin.
of the Dragon. That's all the dudes in House of the Dragon right now. The Sigma Chin, or whatever the hell they're called.
The Sigma Chin, Matt Smith, Sigma Chin.
But I guess
Oh my God.
just kind of moving on here into some more kind of positivity about it. We'll kind of go around and give us either your favorite episode or your favorite moment from the show. We'll start with you this time, Jess.
To be like technical and like official, and what I want to say is my favorite is I really did enjoy the lightsaber battles. I love Chimere's lightsaber. I love it. Like, I know some people don't like it, and they're like, oh, this is just a ploy for people to buy lightsabers at Galaxy's Edge or whatever. But
That's
like,
just rad.
Yeah.
right? I love it. I love it. It can like break apart, and like, it's so cool. It's so cool. I just think it's something that we haven't seen before.
Why do people use that as like a downside of like, yeah, make something cool that I want to own? Like,
Yeah,
I don't
right?
understand why
Yeah.
that's like a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I want to
don't know.
display
Seriously.
cool stuff.
Yeah,
I
they're
don't
just
know.
doing it to sell toys as they look back
Yeah.
at the fucking shelf of like technology light.
Porgs.
Yeah, like oy vey.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's cool. I like even just the look of it, like
Yeah.
the dirty kind of like the metal is like kind of I can't remember I don't know off the top of my head right now the exact term of what that metal is, where it's like it's been heated and it's I don't know, like I feel like Kylo's lightsaber is kind of like that at the end.
Yeah. Souls is like
I want to say gilded, but that's not the correct thing to say. I know that's not right because
Like,
that has to do with gold.
Warped. I don't like warped is kind of what happens to it, but I know that's not the word you're looking for.
It's kind of where it's like kind of matte and burnt, but it almost has that opalescence to it. I feel like I don't know how to describe. I don't remember the word, but somebody probably knows it. But I love that vibe of it. It's a very worn, like used feel. And using is it cortosis? I can't, you guys know I can't pronounce things. It's like the worst thing. I love that. It's something so different. And I love how, and it's been a criticism of some people, but I love how like completely caught off guard the Jedi are to one, his fighting style, and then also him using that metal. To me, it makes complete sense because they're taught in such a rule-based way of this is how you this is how you fight and it's respect and all of this, and he's like surprise attack king, you know, and
headbutt your fucking lightsaber.
Headbutts them, like doesn't follow the rules, and so of course he's gonna win and he's gonna destroy them because he's not following rules. And I love that the fights, and that's my favorite. I guess, you know, when they're like, oh, I watch Star Wars for the plot. Good Lord, Manny. Like, I mean, that episode is beautiful. He is beautiful. It's just great. It's wonderful. It's like seeing Anakin on Attack of the Clones for the first time as like a teenager. It's just wonderful. So, yeah.
I'm glad we're getting the women's perspective on this because I would have never... Like, this been a common thread on this Manny Jacinto stuff that I never would have thought would come up on here. But, you know.
Not while it was just
like,
widening the range.
I mean, Leslie is just giving us straight women and not straight other people, like, just the best things. I thank her for that.
For more Manny Jacinto horniness, check out our episode last week with Whitney. There's a lot of good
Oh, Whitney is a big fan of the abs and the muscles.
I mean, even us just like watching it, like my husband will watch Star Wars with me. He's not like a Star Wars person really, but he'll watch stuff with me. And even I remember episode 6 and like the cloak kind of like parts and you see his arms and he just goes, damn. Like it was
turn the TV off.
He's like, oh my gosh, he is like it was just great. So
because he kept it pretty well hidden too underneath all of that sort of like, you know, garb or did the cloak and all that stuff, and then he whips it off. It's like, god damn, Greek god over
I know.
Yeah, I was somebody that watched the
all
Good
of
Place.
us nerds, like the gym memberships, probably just like spiked.
Yeah,
you know.
Watching The Good Place, you do not know he's that ripped, and then I guess he got ripped after.
He's really fit in The Good Place and stuff
yeah.
too. Like I love Jason. Oh, sweet.
Yeah, he was great.
But so I'll just, because mine piggybacks off of Jessica's, I'll just give mine really quick as well. Episode 5 was just perfect to me. I've already kind of went on a lot of tangents on it about the show my light just changed here. All the things that I loved about it. Yeah, I've got one of those lanterns, like the electric ones that goes from like flickering to regular. It's pretty sweet. Anyway.
It's a party at Ron.
No, but just that whole episode and the creativity of all the choreography and stuff, and how the scenery itself felt like a character, you know, that kind of dark and broody forest, and the way the sabers contrasted off of that was just so cool. It's still, I pretty confidently say, as of now, it's my favorite episode of any Star Wars show. I just loved it. Notes. So I just wanted to kind of get that in there before we kick it to you, MT. What is your favorite episode or moment from the show?
I liked it when Basil did the sniff. That was really good. Like, he is the main character of the show for me. He's who we should be rooting for. I'm just kidding. But no, I really, I gotta say episode 5, man, like, not to hop on the train, but like, it was just phenomenal. And like, it was like one of the best entrances that I've ever seen, like a Star Wars a baddie have. Like, he just comes in like Scary Poppins and like absolutely decimates everyone. And like, it was just like,
Poppins.
I don't know,
Why
like,
did that take me a second?
it was quite terrifying. But like, yeah, the choreography was like on point, and like seeing like actual stakes, like seeing Yor die and seeing Jecki die, like, it was just really cool to see. Obviously very sad to see them go, but like it elevated the show to like something like, all right, no one's really safe, and like anybody can really go, and like that's sort of what happens. Like, Saul, bites the dust at the end, and like it's just really, I don't know. I just found that like, episode to be like the most like emotionally shocking and emotionally provoking, and like it just like, I don't know. It kept the momentum going, and like I don't know. It was just a really, really great episode. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it was like, it almost felt, I would say maybe the last like 5 to 8 minutes of the episode prior, and then all of that one felt to me like it was like a Star Wars summer slasher movie. Like, it was set in this dark woods, and there's just this guy in the dark that's going around and picking them all off as they're separated. It really had that like feeling of, like you said, stakes and like kind of dread to it. Even though you were, excited and locked in, there was like that feeling in your stomach of like, oh God, especially once it happened to, I think Jecki was the first one, right? And then Yord.
Yes.
Yeah. Because we, I could have sworn either way, just, we knew that all of the red shirts were going to be wasted, like all of the unnameds that were in the back of that lightsabers and everything.
Oh my gosh! So that like force pool, like the second Jedi into the lightsaber with the other one, I was like,
what? The kebab,
yes,
amazing.
I felt like that was such a Kylo move.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, 100%.
Like,
yo, Kylo was styled on him, bro. Oh my God, Kylo was having some of the best.
I still want to know why they played so much of his theme throughout the show.
Yes, like I was hoping that we were going to get an explanation for that in the finale, and we just did not get that, and that's so frustrating. Because I need to see like how he ties into the Knights of Ren.
Because Leslie even said it's very intentional, and I'm like, why? Coral, why?
I need to know. Tell us why.
Do you guys have any potential theories or a seed of a theory as to why? Because I'll admit that's one even I'm like, all right, yeah, cool, they're probably connected somehow, but like the how of it, like I'm like, I don't fucking know. So are you guys any stronger than me on that?
I think that Kymir is going to end up founding the Knights of Ren, or like, or like having some type of significance towards that group, because like it seems like that's where he's headed, because like he wants to, like, his mission statement is a lot like the Knights of Ren's mission statement. It's like, we want the freedom to exist and to practice the dark side how we want to practice it, and like the Knights of Ren like also pool their energy together, like they like having groups, and so like that sort of like echoes Kymir's like extreme want for an acolyte, because he's like, if I have an acolyte, then like our strength just gets stronger. And so like, I don't know, it seems like they're probably going to try to form their own thing outside of like the Sith and the Jedi, and like the Jedi are going to be like, oh no, and like Plagueis is probably going to be like, ooh, this is interesting, let me see if I can hijack what's going on here for my plans. But like, yeah, I think the only real Sith in this series is Plagueis. I think that Kymir's just doing his own thing, but who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, because that's one of those things that like I go back and forth on, because it seems like you're right. Like ultimately, the Kymir's not a full blown Sith, even though he says you could call me a Sith. Like it felt like the phrasing was very intentional and stuff. But everything we knew about this show coming in was supposed to be, this is a show set from the perspective of the Sith, not like as somebody who might kind of be a Sith.
Right.
And so I'm not saying that's a way to like disprove your theory. I'm saying it in a way of like, I don't think that's actually what it was, and that was kind of how it was sold to us at the time, which isn't a big deal in hindsight.
Yeah, I think the advertising was a little. I mean, like, it was great and the posters were great, but I think things could have been done. Like, I'm not complaining because we got a lot of advertising for it. But
Mm.
I think things can be learned from the promotions of this show for promoting a show going forward. Like, if you're gonna have a huge actress come in, like, maybe don't over promote them, and then
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I can understand why people were like, I'm watching this because Carrie-Anne Moss is going to be in it. And then, I mean, yes, there's flashbacks and stuff, but I feel like that's a fair criticism because even though for me, I kind of was like, she's probably going to get killed off pretty quick because, like, it just, I don't know. That was just like an assumption that I had, but I can understand why people were irritated that she was pushed so much and then was like barely in the show, or that it was supposed to be about the Sith and it didn't seem really about the Sith. So while I think you want to advertise with a little bit of like almost like a cliffhanger-ness to it, like, some suspense, and not give away too much, it did seem a little misleading in some areas, I think. I don't think it was intentional, like in a bad way. Like, they were trying to trick the audience or anything. I think it was, one of the biggest, I feel like, ad campaigns that they've done in a long time for a Star Wars project, especially.
They promoted it like a
show.
movie.
Yeah, and I love that.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't want to seem overly negative to where I'm like, oh, I hate it and it's horrible, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not what I mean at all. Like, I love that it was massively promoted, and obviously the bigger name people you're going to promote more, but I don't know, maybe just a few little tweaks in there for some people to not be. I mean, I think we've done this, or I say we, I think Star Wars has been done enough that you can kind of know what's going to piss people off and like to try, I mean, take your risks, do your things. You're never going to make everybody happy. But if you know like one certain thing or doing X, Y, and Z is for sure going to just like piss someone off and there's like no payoff for that, like maybe, I don't know, maybe think about that a little bit.
Yeah. Or
well, I was just going to say
that's fair, right? I feel like that's fair.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah.
I was going to say though, for Carrie-Anne Moss, she did end up being in 3 out of 8. That's almost
yeah, but she was promoted like outside of Seoul as like she was the one we saw everywhere on the magazine covers and all that stuff.
And we didn't get I mean, I don't know. I like the show. I'm not trying to be like overly negative, but like I understand
you
why
should have
people
heard me
are
last
like
week.
Wookiee Jedi, like Wookiee Jedi, and then he's like dead.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. That's fair. That's fair to be disappointed.
For sure.
I mean, hopefully we see like really cool stuff like that in season 2. Now that like they're like those Jedi aren't tied to this big like mystery that like they all need to be murdered. Like I feel like we're gonna see a lot of really cool Jedi. Well, like hopefully, because like one of my biggest criticisms about this show is that we didn't get to see more of the Jedi temple. Like I just wanted to like venture out and be like, what's behind this training? Like I want to see what's going on here. Like spend some of your millions on like sets, because like that's one of my favorite parts of like the prequels. Even though like yes, it was mostly CG and like all that stuff and green screen.
They built models.
But, like, it felt it felt real, and like I want to feel like I'm moving around the temple and going around Coruscant. Like I wanted to learn, because I miss the period before the Jedi extinction. Like it's just I like being like learning more about the Jedi Order and like how they move and like how they how their lives are. So like hopefully more of that in season 2 when May's I guess going to be a Jedi. Who knows what's going to go on there. But yeah,
I would love to see more of the mystery aspect. I felt like this season for the mystery aspect really just focused on who's the Sith, right? Like, and kind of what happened 16 years ago. And for me, that was a little unfulfilling mystery-wise compared to what they were building up, right? When like Attack of the Clones, my least favorite Star Wars movie, I feel like does mystery very well. When you have Obi-Wan going to the archives and he's trying to figure out where Camino is, and then he has to go to Dex, right? And he has to get the information from Dex and putting these pieces together. Oh, who did this? Sifo Dyas. And like putting these pieces together. I thought that's my favorite part of Attack of the Clones is the Obi-Wan plot line. And I wish we kind of would have got more of that, more actual investigation. It feels like at the end of the first episode, we know it's not OSHA. And then, but I guess actually, is it OSHA? They're one person, right? Like, that's where it's confusing to me now. But it was an OSHA, and Soul believes her. And then the mystery's kind of gone from that point on, except for maybe who the master is or what the Jedi did 16 years ago. And like you said, Jessica, when they were promoting this, it's a murder mystery. It's the mystery of who's killing these Jedi, which gets pretty sorted out very quickly, unfortunately, because I really wanted to see more of that murder mystery. As I love murder mysteries, I love investigations. Putting that in Star Wars, I think, with a deeper dive of that would be really cool. I just don't know how season 2 would do that, because I feel like we already kind of have like a plot on what's going to happen, right? Like Vernestra's going after Chimere. She knows it's Chimere, and OSHA's with them, and I don't know. Like, I think I'd rather them focus on the Acolyte part of it, focus on the Plagueis, the Chimere, and then you kind of have some episodes where focusing on Vernestra figuring out May to try to find Chimere or something.
Yeah,
and maybe show us Yoda
stuff.
Actually.
No, I only want the back of his head. The entire second season, just the back of his head.
Season 2 ends, and she's like, Master Yoda, I got another report for you. And it's just the back of his head.
It's like,
just end every episode now.
Working in the shadows.
But yeah, no, like I really am looking forward to seeing more Yoda. Hopefully we see Dexter Jetster at some point, because he is alive during this period.
He is alive during
which is hilarious.
I want Dexter I just want a show of him. Like, I just want a show where people come in and tell him wild stories, and it's like a diner vibe show.
No, I want Kitchen Nightmares with Dexter Jetster.
Yeah.
What if we had?
And then there's some like good Waffle House style fights. Like, that's the vibe that I want.
Late night fights at Dexter Jetster's place.
I would actually love to see his career before he was a diner owner, and it's him in like a pawn shop, and he is like a pawn star.
It's like Star Wars.
Best I can do is tell you it's Camino, right? Like...
That would be so funny. I would love that.
It's like Star Wars reality TV. We haven't gotten that vibe yet. So,
yo, who was I saying this the other day? I think I probably tweeted it. But like, if they made like a Coruscant cops show, where like they pretended like it was like cops, but like you just go like follow the cops of Coruscant around like over the generations, that would be so great. I would love that. I would consume that 24/7.
It actually, it really would be interesting, and it would kind of be more of that like mystery that we felt was a little lacking from this one. You could do a lot of that sort of like episodic cop drama kind of stuff. You know what I mean? That would be a lot of fun.
Exactly. I would love that so much.
Give me a Sherlock Holmes that takes like a Jedi Sherlock Holmes I
don't know what this could have kind of been, but
could have,
right.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, Jord?
I guess let's go around real quick. I don't know what happened when I was gone, but let's go around real quick and say, out of 10, the probability that season 2 happens. Let's do that. So, Ron, I'll start with you.
I'm gonna say 3.5 out of 10.
Whoa!
I'm not very confident, and that's not a reflection of what I thought of the show. I thought my grade for the show itself is a 7.5 out of 10. I thought it was a perfectly fine entry into Star Wars. The highs were high, the lows were kind of low, admittedly, but it's one that I'll definitely go back and watch again at some point, and I would love to see a season 2, especially with all the stuff that they set up. I think it would be markedly better than this season. Not even shading this season. Just I think it has potential to be like a truly like formative kind of Star Wars story if they were to do it and do it right. But I don't know if they think or if they will think that the juice is worth the squeeze. Like, this has been getting through the Acolytes in terms of like just all the shit that's been around it. Like, and it's really sad, but it's like, it felt like a chore sometimes, just like getting on and just seeing all the shit that people were saying and the review bombing and just all this stuff, and it's like part of me just wonders if they'll even like want to deal with that again, like, and probably play it a little safer, which I don't want them to do, because that's just, you know, kind of bending the knee to fucking assholes. But I just thinking like in a corporate kind of way, it seems like they might just be like, you know what? Let's do something a little less controversial, even though it shouldn't be controversial at all. So I'm going to say like 3.5 out of 10. There's still, you know, like a little over 1 in 3 chance. So it's not, you know, all doom and gloom, but I would say I don't think it's likely.
Interesting.
Jessica, out of 10.
I think maybe a 5 out of 10. I pay attention to a lot of social media posts, and I've noticed a lot of things, even from Disney, have said like finale, like not season finale. They've said like show finale or series finale. Yeah. So they've said like series finale instead of season finale and things like that. So that's why I'm going like lower to a 5, because but I mean, also they said no main characters from any Star Wars would be in this, and then we see Yoda at the end. So I mean, that can definitely be like something that we don't, I don't know, a misdirect maybe? Like, I don't know. Like, and I also don't know how quickly they've announced like second seasons, because didn't it take a little while for even Ahsoka to get announced?
Ahsoka was announced around the time of Mandalorian and Grogu got announced, the movie, which was, I believe, in December or January of this year.
Yeah.
And Ahsoka was in August, right? So it ended in October, though, I think.
Yeah, it was pretty quick.
So it was probably 3 months. I would say 3 months we would probably know. So by October,
I mean, it
maybe.
did just end, so they could be looking at all the data for everything to see. I mean, D23 is coming up, so that could be an announcement that happens then. We have Celebration coming up. We know stuff has to be announced there, because
that's where I would think Celebration. They usually don't do a lot of Star Wars at D23, so I would say if it gets renewed, my bet would be on then.
Yeah, because I mean, I feel like they need stuff, and I know I'm sure they've got other things. I mean, I have theories about what I think they have coming up, but I don't know. Like, I want it to be renewed, because I think if this was a first season of something brand new where they're trying to set the stage, there's nothing to really pull from. It's a completely new idea, and they're going into new territory as far as like stuff that Star Wars hasn't really done before. I would really, the rating for the season as a whole might even go up if it is viewed as a first season. As a standalone season, it's a little bit harder for me. Like, I mean, I'm with Ron. It's about a 7.5 out of 10. I'm also not that hard to please. Like, I'm pretty easygoing and enjoy a lot of things, even if, you know, sometimes things aren't the best. I'm like, oh, that was good, you know, which, I mean, I feel like this was better than, that was good. I think it was good.
Yeah.
Right.
But I am a little worried because of some of the stuff that happened, what they'll do as far as if it is worth it, kind of like what Ron was saying. I mean, but then there's also, you know, there's no bad press at the same time. So, I mean, it did get things, people were talking about it. It was trending. Even if it was negative, it's still trending a lot. I mean, I think it had pretty good viewership.
It was the highest.
It started out well. I'll say I have seen that, like, on those top 10 streaming charts, it has fallen out of there by week 4 or 5, I believe. So out of the top 10. So who knows, right? I think it was maybe by week 3 it was out of the top 10, or week 4.
The one thing that does make me have it a little bit higher, is probably a possibility, is because there is, you know, just that sneak peek of Plagueis. And I don't think that you do that and not follow up with that. I mean, that's an investment. Exactly. I mean, that is not something that you touch in Star Wars, I feel like, and introduce for the first time into live action, and not follow up with it. So I don't know. Like, yeah, I'm probably 5 out of 10 right now because I see kind of both sides of what could either cause it to keep going or cause it to be done.
All right, MT, out of 10, your probability that season 2 happens.
I'm gonna say 7.9 for me.
What?
Because I think that the show is very likely to be renewed because like Jessica said, the Plagueis piece, like they have waited so long to pull the Plagueis lever, and like it's like a huge part of the Star Wars mythos that like people want more information on now that Disney's canon has undid what they established within in Legends, and like they would not do it lightly and like just leave people hanging. Like if there, I don't think like Star Wars has ever left a narrative hanging. Really, like even like the Book of Boba Fett, like that seems like a one season type deal. And like they're not going to touch that. But like Star Wars always completes their narratives, and like this was very much like like the episode 1 of like. Like this show's all about dualities. It's about like the power of one, the power of two.
Yeah.
I think that 2 seasons is inevitable, and I think that like they have to explain Plagueis. They have to explain, what that music cue for for Chimere was, and like there's just too much that they've established that they're for them to just be like, all right, no, we'll just do it in comics or we'll just do it in books. Like they've already they've already invested, so they're gonna go full. Like even if they don't like call it the Acolyte season 2, they might like rebrand and be like, all right, that was the Acolyte. Now this is like something else. Like and like, but they will continue that story, that narrative thread. To explain the origins of Plagueis and like how that ties into the prequels, because like the marketing was all like very much centered around this is before the prequels and like this will explain what the story of the prequels and all that stuff. So it's just like they have to, and like this is just it's too lore important for them to not continue this. So like I'm sort of nervous about them not getting a season 2, but like I'm pretty like chill about it. I'm like, you know what? It's probably going to happen because like I think like they've written themselves into a corner here that they can't really not do that. But like, what do you guys think?
Well,
What do you think, Jordan?
I would say my number was going to be probably around Ron. What you said, 3 or 3.5?
Yeah, 3.5.
I'll say like 3. I worry ratings wise, not just review wise. I do think that could be a problem. And what I said last week is we got to remember this kind of got greenlit during the Bob Chapek era of we need content for Disney Plus. So let's pump out all of these type of shows. And now we're in the Bob Iger 2.0 era of we got to scale back. Yeah, we got to scale back. And right now I think that's kind of up in the air with that. Like I feel like it'd have to be a monster hit like Mando to get a season 2 at this point. And part of that I put on the writers. I do of this show. I was so hyped for this show. First 5 episodes, I loved the show. The last 3 kind of lost me a bit more to being like, if you ask me after episode 5, I'm saying 8 out of 10 on this show. You're now looking at a 6 out of 10 after the last 3 for me. So it's kind of like I kind of felt like, we like after episode 5, when we find out who Chimere is and the sister switch, I was like, this show can go anywhere.
Yeah.
You can do anything. And then they kind of didn't, right? They kind of like ran around on a spaceship. Like May and Soul ran around on a spaceship in episode 6. Chimere and Osha kind of ran around on the island, and then the flashback, and then the finale, and then you're like, wow, we're already done. If this doesn't have a second season, I think you do kind of look back at this a little bit more in what could have been? Like if they just nailed that 8 episodes, like what could have been?
Right.
Because I actually don't think we needed to see Plagueis, and I don't think we needed to see Yoda last week. And Plagueis, I do think they could touch on that in like a Tales of the Sith type of thing if they wanted to do another animated thing. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like, especially how long it'll take to get a second season at this point, right? Like if they'd probably start filming in 2026, and they would probably, because they'd be writing it next year, and then you'd have 2026 filming. It's premiering in what this premiered 2 years after they started filming, so you're looking at like a 2028.
Yeah.
So, like, ouch, that would be kind of rough, like a 4-year wait between seasons, unless they fast track or something. But I don't know. I'm kind of at this point where I'm thinking they're just going to say, like Ron said, maybe not worth it at this point with the fan reaction. The numbers started off great. The thing is, like, those websites are very behind on how well it's tracking. So, like I said, I think last numbers we got were like episode 4. So we got like another 4 weeks to figure out where episode 8 ended up on those things and how it continues to go. And then you have, the budget. This was apparently a very big budget, 180 million or something. And it's like, maybe they would think, all right, we can come back, but we have to scale that budget down. You're going to be on that island 8 episodes. No
it's lost again.
I honestly think a lot of that budget went to the ad campaign. I really do. Like,
but that number is usually before ads.
Oh, really?
Which is
true.
Yeah.
Shit.
That's what's tough, because like a movie budget is usually reported before ads as well, and then you double it for the ads. Like the marketing.
I do like the idea MT brought up though, and I feel like it could be a happy medium to like loosely continue the story that was kind of the groundwork was laid for in this one. And if you wanted to make like a Plagueis show off of this and like have him and Yoda
Book of Plagueis.
Hey, you never know. But like, if they want to, do it in a way that they can market it as, with 2 of the biggest heavy hitters in Star Wars, if Yoda and Plagueis are sort of the central like theme of the marketing of the project, and you call it whatever you're going to call it. But for people who did see the Acolyte, they'll have that tie into it, and for people who didn't enjoy the Acolyte, they could still go into it and know what's going on and know like, oh, this is a story between 2 of the most well-known kind of light side and dark side users. And like, I think there's room there if they wanted to continue telling the story without just being like, okay, season 2 of the Acolyte and all of the, again, the stink that's on it, which I think is very overblown.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I think they're going to do with Kenobi. I don't think there's going to be a Kenobi season 2, but I think there's going to be a Vader show.
Yeah.
So
you're right.
That would be freaking baller. I want that so badly.
I mean, I've said it to Ron. I don't know if I've said it on the thing or just in talking, but like there's no reason for them to be marketing Hayden as much as they are if they're not going to do that. Like, it's just.
Oh, yeah. I think that like after, Hayden like has begun to like feel like the fan excitement around his return, I feel like he's like really, really down to like, do more Star Wars projects. Oh my God, I just hit my mic. Let's just do more Star Wars projects and like just be more involved again. And that's so exciting because like I do want to see him in a Vader centric series, but it's so tough because like he is in the mask for most of it, and like so like if we do see Hayden, it has to be through flashbacks or if like he's taking off his mask and looking all ugly and weird.
Yeah.
But like I do miss like the the early days, the good old days of young Anakin with the long hair. But I think that Star Wars would like if there is a second season of the Acolyte, and it does take a while to produce. I think Star Wars would really, really benefit with a High Republic cartoon like animated series, like into the Clone Wars or Rebels, because like people really need to like be invested into this era of the universe, and like we don't really have anything beyond the comics and like the books that like are they're great, but like it's not like in motion like as much. And like with animation you could do anything, like there's no like real constraints to budget that you have like in live action.
More Kalnaka.
Maybe they could show us what happened between Vernestra and Chimere in animation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like precisely. And like it would just be really dope to have more context for that era. And like, if they want to continue the Acolyte that way, I wouldn't mind myself because I like animation.
Yeah.
But like, I think that like a season 2 of the Acolyte probably gets a rebranding and called like The Master or something. Just like to complement the Acolyte.
Just don't call it
like,
The
while
Apprentice.
they
For the love of
focus.
God, don't call it The Apprentice.
Celebrity
Don
Apprentice. We'll
Plagueis.
call it Celebrity
Hello.
Don Plagueis runs for
Yoda.
president.
Yoda.
I just feel like Star Wars is gonna go down more of a dark path. Like, I don't mean dark like R-rated or anything like that, but I think that, you know, like if we get like a Vader show and we get, you know, this, instead of it being like everyone is saying, like Acolyte season 2, and it's rebranded and it's put out there as really more of a Sith, like Plagueis type situation. I don't know. It's like, it's a whole vibe, like, you know, Star Wars, like the dark side, like focusing on the dark side instead
Would
of
we buy
the
that
other
though
way.
after they said that the whole time for this show?
I mean, maybe if it's said, it's called something different. I don't know. I don't
that's
know.
how they, you know, positioned this one for a while.
I mean, and
dark
here's what I keep coming back to. Do I think that maybe it was maybe too wishful thinking of, you know, people creating the show to assume a 3-season storyline? But I do really think that this was meant to be like the beginning part, and there was meant to be a lot more story from this, and this was like the start of it. I think it would have been smarter to do it kind of like Lucas did A New Hope, right? Where it's got a beginning, middle, and end. And if it is the only season, it can stand alone by itself. But it does definitely seem like something that was created with the intention of going forward in the story, and things not being answered. So I think if we got the creator's intention of this and we had 3 full seasons, everyone's opinions could be completely different on all of it. Even just this one season, it could be more positive or it could be more negative. People might like it less or might like it more. But I feel like it's almost getting a painting that is like a third of the way done. You know, like I can't really appreciate it fully for what it could be because it's not
true
the whole thing. And so that's why it's hard for me to be 100% like I love this or I'm kind of disappointed in it because it feels unfinished.
And that's what's interesting is Leslie Headland had said, you know, like she had pitched it as a multiple season show, but that this season would be would wrap up everything. And I don't think it really did that. So it is kind of interesting. That's how she positioned it. But yeah, I understand wanting to leave more. So that way they do try to renew it. Right. But sometimes it can bite you.
Yeah.
No, I really like what you said, Jessica, because like, it sort of feels like this is probably a really bad comparison because I did like the show, but like it probably feels like how a lot of people felt walking out of the Phantom Menace. Like, he's like, you know, in the context of like seeing 1, 2, and 3, you can sort of like be like, okay, I can appreciate the Phantom Menace for what it is because like it sets up episode 2, which sets up episode 3, and like it's very important stuff. Like as a formative. As a setting up piece of media, like you could sort of appreciate it, but walking out the first time, you're like, "What the hell did I just watch? What is this? Like, what is this new world? Like, I don't understand, and I'm scared of like what the future is." But like, you know, like maybe in the future, like once a season 2 or maybe a season 3 comes out, we'll look back and be like, "Well, okay, like we met Chimera in this season, we met Basil the goat, and like, you know, we met all these like fun characters." So like maybe like we'll appreciate it more. As time goes on, if we get subsequent seasons, who knows?
I thought you were about to start going on an anti-Phantom Menace thing there. I was about to say, all right, MC, it was good to have you.
And we're done.
No, I appreciate the Phantom Menace. It's
I love that movie. I mean, I feel like kind of how like I am somebody that does like The Last Jedi, but leaving the theater the first time I saw it, this is how but I was confused. Like I was very like, what is this? Like it had a different feel to it. It was like not what you expected, which I love now watching it. But I wrestled with that movie. I had to watch it several times to really get it, and the full story helped a lot with it. But like it was that same kind of like, okay, but what are we missing? We're missing something. Like that's kind of like how I felt. Like very like, what is this? This is different. Like I don't know what to do with this.
That's funny because
So
I walked out of Last Jedi like that was the best Star Wars movie I've ever seen. I've kind of cooled off on it in that regard, but like I saw it 5 times in theaters. I was very hyped
Damn.
when it came out.
I
Yeah.
Yo,
saw it 3 times because I was like, I have
Holy
to figure this
moly.
out.
bro,
Yeah,
I saw
so
it
like
one.
I am
Oh,
somebody
sorry.
that likes it and I defend it and I
Mhm.
love the choice of what they did with Luke, but I do understand how people can struggle with it because it is
Right.
very like
Yes.
unexpected and not what maybe expectations were, and I think maybe that's what this show struggles with, and I try so hard to go into any new Star Wars thing with no
Yep.
expectations, and to not listen to other people's expectations around me.
100%.
And I still, even though I genuinely tried so hard to do that with this, and I do enjoy it, I will rewatch this. I will probably like it more as I rewatch it. I don't know. Like I feel like there's just, and then we might come back to this 4 years down the road and be like, oh, that was so stupid that I felt like what was missing because now we know the missing piece.
Yes. Yep.
So
Right.
Yeah, we're really just kind of in a holding pattern until we learn any more on the matter. I guess that's kind of where we stand.
Yeah, so we'll have a Post-Mortem 2.0 in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Well.
Hey.
I guess we can wrap it up here. MT, if you wanted to kind of drop your socials or where people can follow you or find your work.
Yeah. If you guys want to follow me at Mastertainment on Twitter, Instagram, and all that stuff. But I am mainly on Heavy Spoilers with Paul. We just do a lot of breakdowns of movies, a lot of nerdy stuff. We're about to go see Deadpool. I know Paul's working on the Deadpool breakdown, and I'm working on a video for that. That's really fun. But I also have a podcast called the Guardians of the Palaxy podcast, where me and my friends Whitney and Tommy, we just goof around, and it's really just 3 friends just having fun and talking about nerd stuff and going off the rails. My friends are very, very funny. So go subscribe there if you guys want to go see us be goofballs. But that's it. That's where I am. That's it. The end.
Jessica, where can people find you?
So I have a little podcast called Tales of the Force, and everything, all of our handles are Tales of the Force. So on, let's see, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and then all of the episodes. There are also video versions on our YouTube channel, which is Tales of the Force. And I say our because I feel like every guest in the community is also as much of a part of it as me. Like I try to just focus on hosting and I'm not saying too much, which clearly I'm a talker, so that's a little hard, but I try to, let the guests talk about it. It's all about there's any kind of fan of Star Wars sharing their personal Star Wars story. So why they like it, how they got into it, and why they're still, watching it or reading or whatever capacity of the fandom that they're a part of. So I just feel like the more we can share each other's stories, the more the fandom can come together and the more maybe we can even heal a little bit and see different perspectives by just humanizing each other and being human. So that's kind of
that's so great.
Yeah. All of you guys. I know Ron came on for a live episode where we kind of did something a little bit different and actually talked about a project instead of personal stories. And we talked about the Acolyte. But all of you guys, I would love to have on individually to share your personal Star Wars stories.
That'd be fantastic.
So, yeah.
You're a better person than I, because this is my show. I don't say.
No, I want it to be a community,
No, Jordan's just in it for the greed and the fame. That piece of shit.
Yeah. Our little podcast that's paid by Disney. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
We got called
We're all
shills.
shillionaires.
We got called shills. On the episode I wasn't even on, Ron and Jessica were on it, and people were commenting on episode 6, calling us shills because we dared to like the show.
It's fine. I expected it. I honestly, I hate to say it, but I expected a hell of a lot worse. Being honestly a
Yeah.
female starting a podcast, and I
Oh
cannot
God.
complain. Everyone has been super welcoming and kind, and I say everyone. There's been like maybe like 1%. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's been great. So.
And you
Hey,
can contact us at Podawakens on all of our social medias, or as our friend Co Bibble says, you must contact us at podawakens at gmail.com.
I love that.
Thank you all for watching and listening. We will catch you next time on the Podawakens.
Bye, guys.